Hello Targar friends, hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orc Mode workout. And you guys know the spiel, please click like down below, keep the likes higher than the dislikes. Today was max effort squat day. There was question on this as to depth. There seemed to be no question last time, obviously, when I did 522 with, what was it, 43 pounds of chains. There was no question about it. This one, there was question about it. Indefinitely, I knew for a fact when I did the 502 plus the chains, I knew it was high. There was zero doubt in my mind. And I think when we're looking at these, we want to discuss this from a couple angles. Number one, it's not always going to be imperative that I hit depth on every one of these max lifts. I'm going to have some where I'm going to miss depth. And it's not that I would necessarily miss it with raw weight. It has to do with the way our brains work. It has to do with fear that we develop from weights that are too heavy. Okay, most people know that. What happens is we get heavier and heavier. Sometimes squats go higher and higher. And this is why box squats are a valuable tool. And for me, if I'm going too high with too many of these, we'll rotate box squats back in, right? All the way back down to a 12-inch box. Because we did a 14-inch box basically to test, or just under 14. It's basically 13 and a half to show you guys kind of a depth check. And it would be even then questionable depth in something like the IPF. And I'm not worried about them, but to be fair, most feds would have passed it. Most feds would. But does that mean that that's the standard we should set for ourselves? Let's say no. Now that was high, right? That 502 was high with the chains. So what is that at the lockout? And the reason that was high is because it's basically 560 pounds at the top. My brain knows that I cannot squat 560. Okay? I want to be very clear on that. I know, and my brain knows, and everybody knows that's probably, not even probably, that's higher than my current max. Even if I were to scream and yell and slap myself all out, I bet you I may be good for 540. If I really psyched myself up. That would be the bleeding edge for me. So, when we start having weights heavier than that sitting on my back, when you start doing the eccentric, your brain knows that that weight is too heavy. That's one reason I'm using the chains, and I want to make that clear. And by the way, that was everything I had. With that weight, that was a max for me. That was literally everything I had. So as you guys can see there, that's pretty similar depth to what I hit. Easily within an inch. I tried to judge the angles the best I could. Someone had asked me also, they're like, why does your thigh look different? Well, when you have over 500 pounds sitting on your back and your legs are having to control the eccentric, they get really pumped up, and they're going to be bigger, because this was done within 20 minutes of that squat. Right, it was done right after, and then I went over and did my hip thrust. So, and this will show you guys where it's at. And I did some other stuff with lines. You'll see the pictures. You know, we do what we can do, but it'll give you guys an idea. Now, and I will admit, and I know, and I'll give credit to Justin Anderson. He's a coach and a lifter. He came in and said, no, and he said it without being a dick. And I appreciate that, and I'll give him a shout out for that. Brother, I respect you being just honest without being a dick. See how easy that is, guys? I'm going to give him credit for that. I respect the fact that he did that. So I appreciate it. So, I will admit the IPF would read like that. I need to be an inch deeper, if not more. Okay. But what we'll do is we'll work on it. We'll work on it with the chains. And the reason I'm doing the chains, in part, I want to get used to a heavier weight. I want to train my brain and my body to get used to a heavier weight than my max sitting up on top of me, just like I'm doing on the benching. It's like I want to do the deadlifting more with chains so that I get used to a weight that I know I can't handle. We build all of our hypertrophy work, and then we do maxes and things against chains and other stuff. And I'll do some of them raw, obviously. So we've done some. To get used to handling the heavier weights, to handle weights and have weights sitting on top of me or in my hands and things that are probably a bit more than I could max on. It's to train your nervous system. That's all it is. Just to get used to it. Get used to it. And then we build all the hypertrophy around it. Then we eventually come through and we do test those maxes. And if we have to, we do some peaking on the classic lifts. But I've got to get used to handling the heavier weights and strain and struggle against it. And that was an example of it. I strained and struggled against it. And what happens a lot of times, the eccentrics get squirrely with chains. In that case, your brain will try to prevent you from reaching depth and things. And so I have to learn to hit depth with that heavy weight pushing me down on the eccentric. And I got it last time, but this time I didn't. But I jumped in and did everything that I had. And the reason I went heavier, people are like, well, why'd you try it after the 502? Because I knew the 502 wasn't heavy. I knew I missed depth, but it was not my max. I knew that I could have sunk that all the way to the bottom when I came back up because it felt so light. Like I didn't really strain on that. So I'm like, I know I could probably get 527. That's what I felt like. So I jumped up a little bit more. And I needed to go 1 inch to 2 inches deeper, to be fair. Would have been ideal. But again, it's that thing of even though I tried to sink it deeper and I went to kind of that spot where I can feel roughly where my depth is, because people don't realize this, but I've basically assessed my hip and knee position to a point to where I'm in a position where I can only go 1 inch below parallel. Like even if I were to stop and pause and put a like 225 on my back and pause at that foot position, the weight can't compress me deeper than that. There are advantages to doing that, and I can discuss that later. So I'm using kind of a position where I know that that's the deepest I can go, because it'll let me get more pop out of the bottom later when I hit those depths. The hip thrust, I did the 425 today. I increased the weight, and I couldn't finish the 10th set. I got 8 reps, and that was all I had. I got the 10s on the first one, so we're at a point where that's a limit weight for me. That's all I can handle. I basically reaching failure before finishing the final set. But that was good. And so today I'm like, you know what? I feel like after that really heavy squat, 5 by 10 of limit sets with a new PR on the hip thrust, my legs are done for the day. That's all I can handle. I can get away with that some days. Other days I'm able to get in my good mornings. I try to always do the good mornings on deadlift days. Most of the squat days I'll try to get the GHRs. But I'm like, let me just fill out this whole workout with my new specialty, grip training. And I wanted to do this axle bar. I wanted to do sets with all that I could. I managed to do 10 by 10, but you'll notice on a lot of these I have to re-grip near the end to finish the last few sets because my grip is giving out. A lot of these people are like, might ask, why are you re-gripping at the start on the first rep? Because it's uneven. There's no knurling on this and there's no markers. So it's hard to get exactly in the middle, evenly spaced, and you can feel it unbalanced, so I shift my hand over. It's also training me to have to grip hard against an awkward object. Awkward lifts, man. Awkward lifts will make you strong. But I did 10 sets of 10 with this today, and at the end of every set, my forearms hurt. We're doing all of our forearm specialty right now. Forearm specialization, grip specialization. I need that. My deadlift and my bench both need it. They both need it. And I'm going to make some adjustments on my grip on my bench. If we're going to have stronger forearms, stronger grip, I need to make sure I'm using it correctly. I know I'm still bleeding energy in the way I've been benching. I'm aware of it. People haven't mentioned it much, but I'm aware of it. And I'm going to make some adjustments. And we'll use all the new grip strength and forearm strength we're working on to see if we can get that bench up too. Because my bench has got to come up. And we're doing all the accessories, we're doing the maxing. There's some technical changes I need to make. A lot of it has to do with the way I hold the bar. And I'm aware of that. And we have to be honest with ourselves about that. We have to be. But man, this was good grip work. And that's the beauty of having a back where it's at right now for me, and my back grows from anything. My back will keep growing from this. Even though my grip is the limiting factor, my back will grow. We could argue it doesn't need to, but let's go back to the other point. Can you ever have lats, traps, erectors, or rear delts that are too big for a strength athlete? I don't think it is possible. I don't think it's possible. Those muscles help with everything that you do. I don't care whether it's a squat, bench, a deadlift, an overhead press. They help with everything. Those are go muscles. We need to maximize them. But in this case, they still got a fair amount of work. I still felt them working, even though grip was the limit. But when we talk about grip, I mean, I'm taking the grip training seriously. This is one facet of it. A lot of it I'm doing off camera. But I'm telling you guys what I'm doing. Grip, grip, grip. Grip, grip, grip. We've got to bring up those weak points. And I know that that's my biggest weak point right now. It's got to come up. Got to build the tendons, the muscles, everything. Got to build it. And that's the reason I'm able to make progress more and more still these days. I'm going to keep making progress. We train our weak links into the ground. We assess them, have to be honest with ourselves about them. It's like I had to be honest with myself. I know I need to get that squat, need to be a hair deeper. But the problem is people were being insulting about it, and that's what I'm not going to have. I'm not going to have people show up and be dicks about it. I will just ban you and move on. I don't have time for it. I really don't. So, but we can address it and be honest about it. Same thing with all these other things. We have to be honest with our weak links so that we can train them, because the only way we get better, and the best way to get stronger for the rest of your life, is to always train your weak link as a priority. Every weak link you have, every time you find one, you make it a priority. And always assess injuries, always assess inflammation. Train around inflammation. Active recovery. So in other words, if you always focus hard on your weakest links and you can avoid injuries and overuse injuries, you will get stronger. You will get stronger. I promise you. Every one of you, if you just do those two things, will get brutally strong one day. You'll get brutally strong. I promise you. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.